Bad wife, bad boss, bad friend, bad neighbor, bad anything. What do you do? Bad wife, bad boss, bad friend, bad neighbor, bad anything. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, I did a video called Cheating Husbands, Bad Husbands, and so it's only right for me to do one called Bad Wives, okay? Now, when I did the one called Cheating Husbands, I explained in it that most men do not cheat. Most men are great. We were talking about a select small group of men who cheat, okay? Well, it's the same way with bad wives, bad bosses, bad friends, bad neighbors, or bad anything. It's not everybody. Most people are good. Most people are wonderful. Most people are amazing. Okay, so we're talking about just a small group of people, a small select group, because most wives try pretty hard and are pretty good. I know I'm a great wife, okay? So we're talking about a group of people that are not really ethical. We're talking about people who do things, in my opinion, the wrong way. So let's talk about bad wife. You know how this topic came about. My husband and I were talking about a couple. We sort of know, but don't really know, if that makes sense, but we know enough about them for accurate information. And so the wife was really married to a great guy, and they had a family. And then the wife decided that she wanted another guy, and so she dumped him, threw him out, and now she's shacked up, so to speak, as Grandma would call it. Grandma called it shacked up with another man, and here she has children, and they're likely going to end up together, okay? And the poor husband, he got kicked out to the street. So, this kind of works both ways. We've seen it on both sides of the fence where the husband dumps the wife. I've told many stories like that. And now I'm telling stories about women that I have known that were terrible wives, that had great husbands. And unfortunately, usually bad wives usually pick good men. And often good women often pick bad men. And so I think a smart, good woman or a smart, good man picks a smart, good woman or a smart, good man. Okay, so you got to be aware of that, because when you're a good person, sometimes you become vulnerable to the unscrupulous. And often a bad wife, who is a bad wife before she even gets married, is really unscrupulous, and she takes advantage of a good man. I've talked to a lot of really, really great men out there who were taken advantage of by women. It happens. And most often, unfortunately, these were really good men. Usually it wasn't the bad men, because, well, bad women usually don't go for bad men because they know that, well, they'll figure them out too quick. I knew women years ago in social groups these men were wonderful and amazing husbands, and yet these women were the worst wives that you can think of. And the men truly were unhappy. It wasn't like they were happy with this bad wife. They weren't. So there are bad women out there, women who are unethical, who do nasty things, who spend all the money that comes in. They throw money away, they cheat, they lie, they're difficult and challenging and argumentative, and all kinds of negative traits that you can think of. And sometimes they even boot the husband out. It happens. It happens. I've seen women lie on men, lie on their husband when they're going through a divorce. It can be terrible. Absolutely terrible. So there are bad wives out there, and there are women who do things unethically and wrong. So I think if you're a good man, go find a good, smart woman. Don't find a bad wife, okay? So now, having said that, remember, most women are genuinely good. I'm genuinely good. My husband got very blessed to get me, and I got very blessed to get him. He was a smart man, and I was a smart woman. He was a smart, good man, and I was a smart, good woman, and we paired up together. But what would have happened if I paired up with a nasty guy, or he paired up with a nasty woman? Our lives would not have turned out the same as they did, okay? So what happens when you get a nasty boss, a bad boss? They're out there. They're out there. I've had a few. I've had bosses throughout the years that screamed at me, absolutely screamed at me. I remember one job I had, I actually quit, and then they gave me a party and didn't want to see me go. I mean, it was crazy. But it was a woman boss, and she would come over to my desk and just yell at me, yell at me. So I quit the job. And then she was like, sorry, I didn't want to lose you. This is just the way I am. But she was a nasty boss. There are bad bosses. But I've had great bosses, fantastic bosses, fair bosses, wonderful bosses, ethical bosses. But we have to keep in mind that there are some that are not nice. What about friends? You know, we can even have friends that turn out to be not so nice. They kind of pull us into the relationship. We think that they're really nice, and they're really bad friends. They're lousy friends. For me, I just run the other way. I run the other way once I find out, okay? And then what about bad neighbors? We've all heard about that awful neighbor. That's a really difficult situation to be in. It's sort of like being in with a bad spouse or a bad job, a bad boss. You know, it's hard because you bought this house, you may be living in the house, and now you've got this boss. I mean, you've got this neighbor that's not nice. For me, if I had a neighbor like that, I would just do my very best at avoiding them to the best of my ability. You know, sometimes there's not a lot you can do. Sometimes the only option is to move, which is not always the best situation to be put in. But, you know, if you have a really bad neighbor and they're not going to move and there's not much you can do about it, sometimes you have to look at other positive options. And so I don't give suggestions. I don't give advice. I don't do any of that. I just give you my viewpoints on life and on different issues. And, you know, there can be bad situations in life. That, you know, most situations can be really, really good, but for example, let's say a restaurant. You know, we go to 9 restaurants, they're all fantastic, but we get a bad restaurant on the 10th one or the 8th one or the 6th one or whatever. You know, in life, things are not always perfect. So I think if you're a smart person, you size things up first before you step into it. You make sure that you know what you're getting into, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a boss, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a neighbor, whatever it happens to be. But if you sized it up and you found out that you were wrong, then sometimes it's important to find a positive, constructive way to exit that relationship or that situation. Some things we can't change. Some things we can adapt to. Some things we can change. But some things we're just not going to be able to change it. If we have a really bad boss, we may not be able to change that. If we have married somebody who's always going to be the way they are and they're really challenging and difficult and not nice and unethical, I don't know what the solution is. Everybody has to find their own solution. Some people will stay in a bad marriage and other people will leave that bad marriage. And it's not always easy once you're in a relationship to do so because, well, there's usually attachments now that are very difficult to unwind. That's why it's important from the very beginning to size up your situations and make sure they are what you think they are, so that when you fully step into them, you are happy with the results. From my house to yours, may God bless you. I hope to talk to you soon again. I hope you like, share, subscribe to my channel, and I hope you tell all your friends about my channel. And I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye.
to relax.